Okay, it's the critique, and I'm here with the review of the Manchester United and Chelsea match. Yes, Manchester United won 4-0, but what basically they showed us is that Manchester United is in trouble again this season, and it will probably get a maximum fourth position, probably fifth or sixth. The reason why I say this is the pattern of play has not changed from last season. Manchester United still do not have a philosophy, especially going forward. They scrap their way to goal and usually get lucky in the process. If you noticed, Chelsea owned Manchester United in the first half until that error from Kurt Zuma sort of like spun things Manchester United's way. But if you look at how they're playing, there are a lot of things that I want to discuss that will show you that Manchester United is again in trouble this season. Okay, Manchester United is still letting in a lot of big chances per match. It lets in 5 big chances against Chelsea, against the average 3 or 4 that Manchester United were letting in last season. So that's still a problem that has not been solved, and we'll analyze it going into the future. It also exposed another issue where Manchester United is letting in chances through the wing-backs. I know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is trying this philosophy where our wing-backs actually bomb forward, or should you say the full-backs, but he is not giving us the cover that we require from the midfield. He did not plan for that. So in the 4th minute, you see Manchester United actually letting in the first big chance of the match as Tammy Abraham hits the post in the 4th minute. Luke Shaw, where were you? We also see Chelsea, of these 5 big chances, getting 4 of the big chances from Emerson. Emerson was attacking Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka was probably brought in to deal with some of these problematic issues, but as of now, even though he also blocked a lot of balls, he's letting a lot through. Emerson actually hit the post and managed to take 2 or 3 shots towards David De Gea. So Manchester United is still leaking chances from the wing-backs, or for the full-backs, if you want to call them that. The obvious strategy when you want your fullbacks to bomb forward is for the midfield to fall back and probably cover the gaps left by the wingbacks. But like I said in the preview of this very match, we don't have a midfield that will cover the defense. We'll talk about that later on. So leaking from the wingbacks, not solved. A lot of big chances being conceded by Manchester United per match, not solved. Manchester United conceding the first big chance of a match, not solved. Another trend continuing from last season is the fact that Manchester United get their breakthrough in a match as a result of the referee making an error in their favor, or the other team making an error in their favor. In this installment, you notice Kurt Zuma actually providing the route to which Manchester United broke the ice in this match. Manchester United were in trouble and were scrapping. We don't want to see a team winning matches because of luck, because that is not sustainable over the season. I mentioned this last season and probably people did not take it seriously, but that fact reared its ugly head towards the end of the season as we lost a number of matches in a row, and we are back in the same spot where we are relying on the mistakes of others to actually break teams down and get the advantage in a match. Again, we'll analyze this as we go into the season, but it just shows that Manchester United is still in the same place it was last season, regardless of the summer acquisitions. A quick look at the performance of our summer signings show that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is eager to blood his summer signings in, and he's going to prefer those over what is there at the club. Whether this is going to be helpful to him is yet to be seen, but Wan-Bissaka, yes, he made a lot of clearances, he made a lot of interceptions, but he also let a lot of balls through. 80% of all the big chances came through his flank, particularly his area. So this was going to be a cause for concern. If he does not know how to track back and cover his tracks, it's going to be a big issue for Manchester United. Harry Maguire, yes, he did a good job. He was also doing a lot of intercepting, etc. But I feel like he's not a commanding centre back. We do not have a leader in that back. And if a team does not have someone leading from the back like Liverpool have with Virgil van Dijk, there are going to be problems of coordination, etc. That is why maybe Chelsea got a lot of cracks at our goal and probably did not manage to convert because they've got issues of their own right now. So Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, nothing special going on there. Daniel James, I'm actually going to analyze him alone. I've actually got an episode that I put aside for him and the rest of the summer signings. His goal, nothing really much to talk about there because it was deflected. It actually made an error in deciding to float away from the goal as he was trying to evade his man. So right now, first impressions on the summer signings is showing that the business was not very good. I know you want to see things differently because of the 4-0, but trust me when I tell you that something is wrong, something is wrong. And stick with me, subscribe to the channel and click on that notification bell and see how I actually uncover the cracks that are within the Manchester United squad. As I mentioned earlier, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does not have a philosophy that is actually working, a philosophy you can rely on, a consistent philosophy. So let us take a look at what he tried during the match. He tried to attack via the fullbacks. That did not assist us, as there were no shots on goal coming from Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw, and not much in terms of contribution in the final third from the two. When you look at the 18 area and the 6-yard area, Luke Shaw wasn't really actually featuring. The Wan-Bissaka tried to do a bit here and there, but that did not actually come out. He managed to deliver 50% of his balls into the area, with the other 50% failing. Not bad for a start, but in terms of a modern day fullback, he's not giving as much impact. So the strategy of using the fullbacks to support the attack did not work in the Chelsea match. The other route Manchester United used to go was the long ball from Paul Pogba up to Rashford. That is now becoming a signature move for Manchester United. Jose Mourinho also used it to great effect between Paul Pogba and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and Paul Pogba and Romelu Lukaku. So it's now Rashford, who's got a good first touch, to be honest, and he usually knows how to finish. Unfortunately, that's the most that Rashford can actually bring to the team. We need different strikers to give us different remedies and solutions in different situations. So the long ball to the front to Rashford worked, but you can't pull that often enough, especially against teams that sit back, which are teams we're going to be meeting as we go into the future. It works when the team that you're playing with is attacking you, which is the top 6. This is the main reason also why Rashford scores a lot against the top 6, because he needs space behind the defense, and with the top 6 teams, they'll be attacking you, so they leave a lot of that space for you to operate within. Now, coming from the wings, Manchester United, yes, Pereira crossed and scored, but that was a very soft goal. Right now, I can say it's 50-50 on that strategy. Manchester United trying to attack from wide. It's not really working out. The other option we were using is the through ball through the center. That was not used much, even though Paul Pogba managed to thread Daniel James through. So the summary is that the fullback strategy is not working. Long ball from the center, yeah, that's actually working, but it's not something you can rely on. We need something else. From the wings, it's not working, and the through balls were not really working because Chelsea actually was controlling the midfield and running at our defense as a result of the fact that Paul Pogba and McTominay were not able to cover the centre backs. We'll talk more about that later on in the episode. So a thing that should worry you is the fact that Manchester United does not have a proper philosophy they can rely on. Jurgen Klopp, Pep, Guardiola, even Pochettino, when you watch their matches, you can actually pick a pattern in terms of how they're doing things. But for Manchester United, that's not the case this season or last season, and it's going to be bad for us as we go into the future. 73% of the shots that were taken by Manchester United were taken by either Marcus Rashford or Anthony Martial, with 4 shots each out of the 11 shots that were taken by Manchester United. This shows that in terms of an attacking threat, Manchester United is very narrow right now, and if this trend continues, it will make the team very predictable. I analyzed this going into the season. Another thing that you should note is the fact that yellow cards that were received by Manchester United were only received mostly by the players in attack, with the exception of Victor Lindelof. This shows that Manchester United is not pressing teams high up, it's not tackling, it's not showing any mettle. You'll also notice that to complement this, there were no free kicks. Actually, there was one free kick taken against Manchester United, regardless of the fact that our centre-backs were attacked consistently. Why do I say our centre-backs were attacked consistently? Because Paul Pogba and McTominay were not covering Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. If you notice, Harry Maguire actually had the most clearances of the match, which shows that he was constantly under pressure, but there were no free kicks. It means players are running freely towards Manchester United. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to look at adding a bit more steel to our play to ensure that we can weather some of the more fierce storms that we're going to come across. Paul Pogba is the most important person in Manchester United, and if this match is any indication, it shows that we're going to have a problem with Pogba this season. Is probably still talking about the Real Madrid transfer, which has not and probably will not materialize anytime soon. Paul Pogba was a ghost in the first half, and outside his 2 contributions, he really didn't give much. I will give you more stats about him in terms of being dispossessed, etc. But without Paul Pogba, Manchester United is in trouble. I don't know how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to get him into gear. I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got the clout to actually control this man, and I'm sure you all noticed that outside the lob he made to Rashford and the run he made to put Daniel James through at the end of the match, Paul Pogba was virtually outside. If you think that Paul Pogba actually did well and showed that he's willing to fight for the badge and die for the club, let me know in the comments below. Taking a look further up the pitch, you'll notice that our wing play leaves a lot to be desired. Outside the contribution he made for Martial's goal, Pereira was virtually non-existent. When Daniel James came in, it was for a few minutes, but you can tell what he's about. It's just also running and scrapping. He's not going to provide anything different. So for us to expect good deliveries from the wing like we used to get from David Beckham, Cristiano Ronaldo, Nani and the likes, it's something that we can forget from now. Martial did a bit better than Pereira in terms of delivering the balls into the area. 50% of his deliveries managed to find their targets, but the frequency was not very high. I think Martial attempted to cross the ball probably 4, 5, 6 times, which is not enough. In a match, we need a winger to actually try to deliver the ball maybe about 15 times to create more chances for Manchester United. Falling back to the midfield, you notice that Manchester United still has that issue where it's not able to control the midfield. That's why we start most of our attacks from the back, with the CBs combining with the defensive midfielder, with the ball moving around in that area. I'll discuss that a little bit more further in this episode. But Scott McTominay as a holding midfielder, it's not really going to work. And as looking at the bench, you don't have much in terms of alternatives. Matic is a bit better, but he's also slow, can't also control the midfield. So you will notice the effect of this is that Manchester United is always going to be on the back foot against teams which can control the midfield, as we control from further back on the pitch. So that's basically what's going on there. We don't have a midfield, we don't have wingers, our fullbacks are not doing what they're supposed to do. We're going to once again rely on luck, and you'll see that will probably end us back on 6th position at some point. Going back to Emerson, you actually see an interesting fact is the fact that Emerson had the highest number of shots on target actually for the whole match, considering that both these squads have got midfielders and strikers. This is actually appalling. He had 3 shots on target, followed by Rashford and Martial with 2. This says a lot. This also points to Wan-Bissaka. Looking at Luke Shaw, you'll notice that Pedro had the highest number of key passes in the match with 4. So Wan-Bissaka is leaking goal scoring chances. Luke Shaw is leaking key passes. And the fact that we won't have much going forward, especially against teams that sit back, shows that Manchester United will be at a net loss come the end of the season and will find itself in a very bad position. As I mentioned in some episodes last season, Manchester United does not have a lot of options when it comes to attacking modes. That's the different ways in which they can attack. I mentioned in the preview to the Manchester United-Chelsea match that Manchester United would probably break down Chelsea using movement and not flair, and this is exactly what happened. This actually shows in the statistic that Kovacic had the highest number of dribbles in that match. As we know, Kovacic is no flair player by any means, but he had the highest number of dribbles in squads with strikers. So this is something that I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to attend to if Manchester United is to actually go up in the table at some point or stay up there, because in different matches you need flair players to break down issues like Zlatan Ibrahimovic used to do for us. We do not have that anymore, and he was never replaced. So it is interesting to see if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to get away with movement over flair and using movement all the time throughout the season. I don't think he will, but it will be good to watch. Something else that I noticed is the fact that Manchester United still cannot do a high press. So I actually noticed that Jesse Lingard and Andres Pereira were dribbled a lot throughout the match, with Pereira being dribbled the most 5 times. He was dribbled 5 times in the match, and this probably is the reason why Wan-Bissaka was left exposed to Emerson, who then created a lot of those chances. Another person who was dribbled a lot was Jesse Lingard in the center attacking midfield role. So if we cannot high press, it means that we cannot actually play well against teams that build up from the back or that like to sit back, because as soon as we attack them, they dribble past, and gaps are left behind us that the opposition can exploit. It will be interesting to see if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can actually solve this. And as usual, the critique is going to be tracking this statistic about Manchester United. When we sold Lukaku, we actually lost our ability to attack from the air. We lost our ability to attack from the air. That is a whole attacking mode lost. Already I've been talking of the fact that we don't have many attacking modes, and we sold one of them. In the air, we actually see Paul Pogba and Harry Maguire doing the most for Manchester United, both offensively and defensively, even though not much. I mean, when is the last time that you saw Paul Pogba scoring a headed goal? We used to have Lukaku, who we knew could be a target man, receive the ball in the air, hold it, and let the other attackers come through. This would actually help against teams that like to park the bus. Now, the only option we have is for Paul Pogba to tee Rashford into space. So the question remains, when people are parking the bus and there is no space to run into, what option shall we use? We are done in that respect. We can also say Harry Maguire is good in the air, especially from corners, but the play that we are employing right now would not see Manchester United getting a lot of corners because we do not head over to the byline. Our inverted wingers cut inside when they're getting into the area. They don't go close to the byline, and as a result, the number of corners that we will receive will be less this season. So Harry Maguire will not be much use of us offensively in the air, probably in a defensive manner. So a whole attacking option has been lost there. Manchester United is now weaker in the air. I actually predict that we will lose more matches or lose more points versus teams that park the bus. It is very interesting how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer let this happen, but let's see how it goes. As usual, the critique is going to be analyzing that. I mentioned earlier that Manchester United is not getting meaty, getting beefy on the pitch, and that of the 3 yellow cards, 2 actually for forwards and 1 for Victor Lindelof. It means Manchester United players are not digging in and getting in under the skin of the opponents. You actually notice that Wan-Bissaka has the highest number of tackles with 6, and second is actually Jesse Lingard with 2. Whereas the rest of the team, whereas the rest of the defense, where are the midfielders? They are just letting players run at the defense, and more evidence of the fact that the midfield is letting players run at our defense is that combined, Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof had 10 clearances between them. 10 clearances, because no one is actually protecting them. I'd be more comfortable with the figure of 5 clearances at most. So Manchester United is not digging in, and the numbers are showing. Now, what this will mean is Manchester United will be run rugged all season, and when you're being run rugged all season and you're playing games at a high intensity, you have a situation where a lot of our defenders are going to get fatigued and probably injured at the same time because no one is protecting them. You finish the whole match without resting, you're constantly being attacked. So I will remind you of this when it actually starts happening. We really need a lot of center backs, because the way Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is structuring this, they're going to get tired a lot faster than other center backs, and they're going to get injured a lot, and this might compromise Manchester United in the case that it probably is in a knockout tie and you don't have enough manpower. In addition to the clearances, we look at the interceptions. It's very important to note at which stage interception starts coming in from a team. It gives you an idea of where they start actually pressing the opposition, or where they successfully manage to take the ball from the opposition. It gives an idea of the defensive quality of the team all over the pitch. Like I already mentioned earlier, Manchester United is not good at the high press, and this is showing in the statistic for the interceptions. Most interceptions in the squad are coming from Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire with 4 and 3 respectively. There is no one else on the pitch coming close to that statistics. It shows that other teams are being allowed to run at Manchester United, and then when they group up at the back, the defenders then clear the ball. This is going to see Manchester United soaking up a lot of pressure, and a lot of the things I've mentioned before already in this video happening as a result. Another thing that you notice is that Manchester United cannot sustain attacks going forward. For you to sustain an attack and keep another team under pressure for a long time, your attackers and midfielders have to be able to hold on to the ball longer. Now, when you look at the statistics for dispossessions, you see Paul Pogba, Anthony Martial, Jesse Lingard, and Rashford leading the statistics for being dispossessed. It means when they're actually attacking, they get dispossessed and a quick turnover then occurs. Now, when it's constant turnovers, it means fatigue for the whole team is going to increase rapidly, because players are going to be forced to track back a lot. Actually, Manchester United has shown that it injures players at a higher rate. They're usually injured more when they get to Manchester United than the team they were at before and the team they go to after they leave Manchester United. This is a totally different episode that I'm going to touch on. It's actually a very interesting analysis. But basically, Manchester United cannot sustain the attacks, and as a result, you have a lot of turnover, and as a result, you should have a lot of fatigue and a lot of injuries coming in. Last but not least, a look at Manchester United's heat map shows a very worrying trend that a lot of our touches are actually at the edge of the defensive third going into the second third. This is because, like I said earlier, Manchester United does not know how to sustain possession. It does not know how to high press, so it soaks up the pressure from the opposition and goes on the counter. Most of our touches are stretching right across the band from the right fullback to the left fullback. If you look at Chelsea, most of their touches were from the right winger to the left winger, meaning they were in our final third most of the time. If they had been better at converting their chances, we would have been talking of a different thing right now. If Tammy Abraham had actually scored that cracker, would actually be talking of different issues. Next week when we go to Wolves, we're going to a better team than Chelsea, so it will be interesting to see how their high press affects us. As you know, Wolves plays a very high press, and the fact that Manchester United players do not know how to maintain position, like I mentioned earlier, and can only counter-attack, is probably looking like a loss there, unless we get lucky again by getting a break off a Wolves mistake for the first goal, which will open up the rest of the match for us, as Wolves probably will try to peg back. But that's a story for another day. Manchester United is not looking good this season again, as it was not looking good last season, in spite of the 4-0 flattering scoreline that we had. Let me wrap this episode up by saying that Manchester United's scoreline papered over the cracks. It did not show all the problems that Manchester United have not solved over the transfer window. It's very shocking for a team of such a caliber to go through a window and actually come out without solving anything. Wan-Bissaka is not going to give us much going forward, and he's going to be leaking going backward. Harry Maguire is okay, but he's not commanding. Bailey can actually do that much better if only he could stay fit. Daniel James, inverted winger, like every other inverted winger that we have, from Sanchez to Rashford to Martial, is not going to offer us anything new. People will say it's for the future, but when a player does not offer us anything different, I do not understand why he's purchased in the first place. So Manchester United is in trouble, and I think the Wolves match is going to expose that, unless Wolves itself is not having a good day. And also, in addition to Wolves, expect Leicester to be a problem for us, because it held Wolves, and that looked like quite an action-packed match of two high-pressing teams who put a lot of players forward. It's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. But if you think that Manchester United is going to have a good season, and you think that what I'm saying is absolute crap, please let me know in the comments below. But if you think that I'm on the right track, or if you want to see me proved wrong, just subscribe to the channel and click on the notifications button and see how I unravel the analysis as we go forward. But one thing you should know about the critique is, if you don't want a heartbreak, don't follow, because what I say comes true at some point in time. So until next time, cheers.